Good evening, everyone. This time we're going to open the January 15th Planning Board meeting for the town of Southampton, and we have a full board tonight. I didn't put the nameplates out, but to my far right, coming this way, is Paul Fergal, Jim Labrie, Cindy Palmer, Keith Locke, and my name is Paul Deeman, the chairman. This time we'll ask John Martin to come forward, who has an A&R for 106 Clark Street.
I'm not sure exactly which one, but I've got 4 copies on my application.
Want some money?
I will make sure this here before the end of the meeting. Just one. Want to see prints? Sure. All of them. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so if you look at it, if you put College Highway on the top, Clark Street runs up and High Street is right here. So you'll see my house on Clark Street. It's got roughly an acre cut out of it right now. It was surveyed, and what we want to do is separate that 1 acre from the other roughly 6 1/4 acres. Up on High Street, there's already a part cut out by the Mr. Parsons up there at number 69. So that property basically goes on College Highway, Clark Street, and High Street.
So the frontage for anybody to do something was either probably on College?
Well, actually, where it's going to go is right here, and the frontage is here. I have already had a survey. I have a septic. We did the perk test. Actually, the septic design done by various. So the driveway would come
right
off.
up Clark Street. This is his house.
Pretty good.
So you go all the way up to High Street. There's an existing house here. Is there an existing house here?
That was kind of a long time ago.
This is
Right here is where a driveway would go, and a house would go right here. We already have a curb, we have 3 good curbs. We have a septic designed by Barry Sarah in town. We're all ready to go. We need to get an A&R here. We need to get a lot number. Yeah. And we need to get a lot number signed up here. This is number 6 now.
This is just
down here.
This is just property line. That's all we're doing today. This is an existing lot. This is all he's doing is cutting this out.
Cutting out 1 acre.
That's all he's doing.
My initial plan was to have my son take this over and form it to here, but so now he doesn't serve it.
So whatever you do with it, if you want to sell it or whatever, you need to have separate. You have to put a house here or sell that or whatever.
Yeah. So driveway will be right here.
This is what we're looking
That's what we're looking at. So is adequate frontage on the highway, which I'd say foot,
Absolutely.
plenty down to an acre.
Yeah. Randy Iser, architect, looked at it and went through all the parameters.
Any comments from you guys on that?
I have no questions. Looks good.
I'm just going to, Keith's looking up on the map here, the street number.
Lot number, street number.
Yeah.
This one here you say is
69. So 67 is available.
I mean,
Well, it goes this way.
Is it on that way? Okay.
so you're saying the new one should be maybe 67?
Yeah. If this is 69 and it goes higher this way.
It goes higher.
Yeah. So whatever number is there is fine.
Are you good, Cindy? Questions? So we're good down here, Paul. 3 of us are okay?
Yeah, okay, we're all stuck with it, just looking for the number now, possibly 67.
It's going to be 2 different maps. It's either going to be 28 or 23.
You see where the right way is, maybe they'll tell you.
I should be able to get it, yeah. I just got to...
Yeah, sure, because they're not, they're moving stuff around, so only do so much for you.
This is now? Yeah.
one's over here.
We're gonna be here for a while, if you want.
I'm here for the whole meeting anyways.
Now, let's see here. The split, it's on either 23 or 28. Okay.
He's looking up a number. Sign a number.
I don't care about this one here, this is saying, we're not getting any building lots, we're just doing the boundaries. That's a good thing.
In the meantime, without any further questions on this, do we have a motion on the A&R itself?
I'll make a motion, we approve the plan for John and Claire Martin, as shown, cutting out that lot, that 1 acre lot.
There's a second.
So moved.
I second.
Motion made by Jim, seconded by Keith. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
John, you're 106? Okay.
So his house is 106 now?
Yeah, he's on Clark, so I am seeing, this is,
That's what you're
yeah,
looking
this
for, a
is
number up there?
69.
High Street, yeah.
So this will be,
So 60.
There's
Come up with a number yet?
69, there's 73 on the other side of Clark, so it would be 71
If it's available.
or 67. Let me confirm the
I'm just
67.
going to confirm that. Yeah, if you want to start.
71 is available, but most likely it's gonna be,
This 71
that's,
here.
that would be 71, so it's most likely
Yeah, it's all, yeah, we
67.
approved that.
There we go, 69. Oh yeah, there's a lot available. And then this is a big long strip, that's 57. So we'll go
There you go. You have to
67.
sign them all.
For 67, hey, would you mark those?
Paul does.
When you're doing that, 67 is the new lot.
Keeps him. He'll take
Kevin, you got that? Yeah, we'll just write that up.
Okay, give these two to Jim. I think there's 4.
Yes, that's what I was told. So,
I have to
again,
have,
67, just put number
I
67.
have to have one, and I need 3, one for assessors, building inspector, and constable. Because the Mylar goes to the registry. For you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And there you go. Not yet. Let me just, this one. And 67.
Good here. Would you like this folded or rolled? Just that far. There you go, sir.
Oh, where's that form, the Form A?
Still have that?
Still on there? What happened to that? Oh,
Right here.
Declaration of Independence
Thank you. Yeah, I need this, sir.
Go. There's mine. That yours? No.
Next, I have Mr. Floric from Fulmer Road, parcel 27, lot 3, for an A and R. I don't have your first name, sir.
Jeff.
Jeff Floric.
Good evening.
Okay, we have a parcel on Fulmer Road that we
Yeah,
want
just-
to take a lot out for our daughter.
Yep.
Send a copy up that way. And then you can describe it to us. All right, so you kind of explain, do you guys want to listen just a second to Jeff?
Okay, we have a parcel on Fulmer Road, and we want to take a lot out of it for our daughter and son-in-law.
And that's lot number 2?
That's the parcel.
This is what you're carving out.
Yes. Across the road is one on Fulmer.
So was this property chapter?
Yes.
And did it come before the town for right of first refusal?
We got 23.
I believe that's.
Nine.
Okay. So right now you're developing one lot that's family?
Just a lot.
Those are
Is it
175.
the wildlife sanctuary, doesn't it? Not the lot, but your property does? Okay, because I love to walk down there. Yes, it is. And there was some clearing that went on down there?
Well, they're just, they're down the other end.
That's part of your property or somebody else's?
No, that's part of
That's your property? Okay.
There's 175 up there. Frontage
Any
is good.
questions, Jim, Paul, anything?
Yeah, but you can do this.
He said it was his family.
All right, let's see. I have no question.
No questions.
So it needs-
No question. Yeah, it's, I got 178 or something or something.
Yeah, it's
over.
175 in that district, right?
Yeah, 175 in that.
100 deep.
Residential rural.
No questions?
Do we have a motion then to accept the A and R?
I make a motion to endorse the A&R.
Second.
Motion by Paul, second by Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just give us a minute now, you can start signing some of these, but we're looking for a street number on that.
Okay, start signing.
Oh, Crooked Ledge.
$100 for one lot. You got that with you?
Sloppy.
Just make it out to the town of Southampton.
And then tonight it'll be really slow.
This is saying Assessor's Map 27, Lot 3.
We don't know the number yet. I didn't write the number on it. Yeah, when he gets it, just jot it down.
Starts on, all right, yeah, so it really, the street number's going to be on 22. Yeah, so it looks like as far as,
Mylar.
the other side of the road, there's 104. Now here is 102.
Okay.
So you could be, this could be 101. Yeah, you've got significant frontage, so you would have quite a few numbers available. What address do you go by for the parcel now?
There
Yeah.
was the sign.
Oh, yeah, there's no house on it now.
No, there's nothing
Yeah,
on
so,
it.
yeah, no mailbox, yeah, okay. Yeah, there's, I'm not seeing any house number signs for a while, so I think 101 would probably apply, 102 would be across the street. So I would say 101.
Want me to write 101 here?
Yeah, on the Mylar, yep.
Down to the adjourn already.
You did them all?
Yep. I did. Keith hasn't yet.
There you go.
Oops, sorry.
Cut me.
Yeah, I need 4, and I'll give you the rest.
Oh, yeah, just leave the Mylar.
Jeez. I can do it. I did it at school once.
Who didn't, oh, Jim hasn't signed that here? Or these are all,
There's
just
one
one
in there.
those guys have signed on this, yeah. No
Oh
specific
my
order?
God. Yeah. Harris.
Yeah. He told me he wasn't going to be leaving.
This one, he already did.
He did these? Oh. Oh, yeah, 101. Yeah.
Almost that.
You lost something there, Cindy. All right. 101. Yep. Get them all and all street numbered? Yep. Yeah. Paul, how many copies do we have? 5? Okay.
Those,
The extras.
those are all signed down there?
Yep.
Thank you.
The extras for you. There
Thank
go.
you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
This time, we'll ask the representatives from the Gill Farm subdivision off of Pequot Road to come forward for some submissions that we're needing.
Yeah, I'm Gary LaGuardia.
Represent the Gill Farm Roads subdivision. I've sent to you a copy of the declaration of the Homeowners Association and Maintenance Covenant. I've previously sent the pro forma deed, and I talked to Attorney Lockman's office from Kappelman and Page. I think we're on the same page as that particular form. And also the covenant with the performance contract.
I just got printed it out this afternoon, so I've only got the one copy. I'll pass it.
There was a
down.
typo on one of the, on
There's a
page 4.
paragraph. But just to insert here on his conversation that Koppelman and Page, through Ed Gibson's office, reviewed the document and go from there.
Yeah, the covenant with the performance contract, I think, is probably the biggest item that you want to put on for the town, that we will complete the full road at our cost before any lot is sold in the subdivision. That's a standard way of financing a project like this. And in conjunction with that, we have this homeowners association, we're putting that into place. That's this last document here. There are some things I tried to go over with your regulations, but I need to know a little input for you in terms of maintaining a bank account, what you really feel comfortable for in terms of the homeowners association. Homeowners associations is a recent phenomenon, I guess, on subdivisions, and it's being met with challenge. I'm involved in some lawsuits in East Long Meadow because it just, people buy lots and then they get a monthly bill too on top of it, like a condo fee, and it's really not going over too well from the way I see. But I want to work with the board, and I want to, to get these final documents in place so that we can start the construction of the project.
Okay. Now, in addition to the declaration in the homeowners association, I'm still looking for the construction cost estimate form and the performance bond, subdivision bond, and the performance bond agreement. All of these forms are which are in the subdivision regulation packet.
Some towns, if we put this, dealing with Koppelman and Page, the covenant with the performance contract for subdivision completion kind of, is something that really takes the place. If you want everything in there, I know some project figures were submitted already to this board, but I want to make sure that we're on the same page if you're going to need those in addition to this too.
I don't have them in my possession.
You what?
I don't have them in my possession.
Yeah, I don't know if they were submitted to DPW. Anthony LaQuarrie was the project developer, and he's sick right now, and he kind of coordinates this thing.
Yeah, but Mike, is that Mike that's sitting back there? Mike came before us some time ago and wanted to submit some of these documents.
I have all but the one he's talking
Right,
about.
and I didn't want to take anything until I had everything complete. I didn't
Okay.
want it piecemeal.
I thought that those were submitted, to be honest with you, and maybe that's my mistake, getting on the same page.
But Jim, you can, and we're trying to be consistent here because you've got a subdivision right next door to you over there that we approved prior to yours. And I just pulled that folder tonight and reviewing the documents that they have to submit. So we've got to be consistent and
Yeah, right.
have everything submitted, for everyone. And as I say, no bond, no cost estimate, and you've got the debt declaration here. So those we'd have to review.
Okay. The other one?
Yeah, I think there's one more, but here's the first two. That's the construction cost estimate and municipal lien certificate.
Mhm.
And what was the other one? I got it right here.
Well, the actual performance bond itself, or what kind of surety you're going to be putting up unless you're doing lots, I suppose.
Yeah, I think with this covenant with the performance contract, I think we could do a lot security. We're my clients are paying for all the construction work on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised with Gil self-performing.
Right.
Yeah, that looks in line, yeah. Yep.
So these are in order, these two forms. So you're going to be doing, for your surety is going to be the lots, is that it?
I believe we're going to pay for all the road construction, which hopefully once we can start. I talked to the contractor who's going to be doing it. He figures we can be done by May, at least have the base coat in, weather permitting and everything. And my clients are going to finance that. With that financing in place, it surely covers the cost of, if they're individual financing, they're going to pay for this.
Jim, help me out with this. Now, they construct the road, so if they're putting up the lots?
Putting up the lots as a surety.
For sure.
We have a covenant on the lots.
Right.
Yeah, we're usually good with that. That's,
But they can't be sold, they have to come to have them released as
We'll get to have a release with each lot when it's,
correct. As
Yeah,
the
so every-
subdivision progresses,
after the road's complete, correct?
well, usually after the base coat's
Base-
down the
Right,
path,
right, yeah,
we
okay.
have released some lots. And we start from the main road. If you read, it's right in the,
Yep.
the subdivision regulation, and the lots are always consecutive as they come off the main road.
all right.
So yeah, I don't have a problem with the lots of surety.
No, it's been done before. We just want
Yeah.
to make sure we don't release more lots than what is remaining in construction value. We need to make sure
Exactly
that-
right. That's where having the construction costs, we start looking at that.
Right.
We start releasing lots.
Right, and there's there's got to be a formal release from the board, and that's part of the whole deed complex too, on the deed that goes up.
Correct.
Does this have to go to town meeting for the release, or
No.
No.
No, this is the board.
Right.
The only thing the town meeting is going to do is accept the
Road
public way at the
acceptance,
end.
yeah.
Paul, so we have, what forms did you get submitted?
We got Form E, which is the construction cost estimate. That was submitted tonight.
Municipal lien certificate.
Yeah, that's the cost estimate. I know we did 2 subdivisions down there, and we mentioned about running gas line. I know they're not doing any new.
Yeah, I talked to Eversource and they said they won't even put anything in.
They won't even do it.
Because they own it and it'll be their responsibility for it, so they won't even put it in.
Okay, well, Hoyle Gas and Electric would run it in a trench in the utilities easement.
Right.
The reason I was suggesting, because in a year or two, if gas becomes available, these people are going to have to dig up their driveways and everything. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
shame. But for,
They said they can get underneath them.
okay,
Yeah.
no time like the present to put it in,
Right,
but
exactly.
whatever.
I tried to
Okay.
tell them that, they said there's no way.
Okay, I know, it was just a recommendation.
I want to read you, and I can make a copy of this too and give it to you if I haven't already sent you a copy. It was from the highway superintendent back in June when you submitted this plan.
There's that one.
Some of the more important things, density test and soil composition tests will be required by the highway superintendent. Test locations to be dictated by or pre-approved by the highway superintendent. Failure to comply may require performance of a second test. Catch basin and drainage systems must be cleaned at least annually under oversight of the highway department personnel, and prior final inspection before a petition for road acceptance at town meeting. Street and stop signs must meet current standards. All signage must be installed prior to the erection or occupation of any home on the street.
Could you just give me the section on that? I have it here in
What's that?
the section you're reading from.
No, this is from the highway superintendent.
Okay.
All applicable standards must be met or exceed Mass DOT standard specs for highways and bridges. And finally, the applicant shall contact this board to request inspections and obtain sign-offs at the appropriate time for each stage of construction. The onus is upon the applicant to ensure inspections and sign-offs have been obtained and at the proper stage of construction. The applicant shall be responsible for all fees sufficient to cover inspections by a qualified engineer chosen by and reporting to the Southampton Planning Board. So as you go along in the different phases of your construction, we will assign a engineering firm that you call when the stages are required to be inspected, and
Do you have the name of the engineering firm that you recommend or whatever?
we haven't got that far yet with you, but we will. But there was a question on the previous one, and we're not going to have somebody go out there all day long and charge you hourly a wage for a 4 or 5 or 6 hour. When you're ready to do that, you will assign, an appointment for them to get there so they can inspect it, so you minimize your costs for the fee.
Okay. I think the meeting really is with the superintendent here and our guy who's putting in the road, Randy Wilson from Holcomb Farms. That's the key thing for us to get going on that with the meeting. And I talked to Randy Wilson from Holcomb Farms earlier this evening, and he knows that's the critical thing, and he's done at least 80 subdivisions in this area, so he's familiar with how to go about the process and making sure everything's complied with.
They send those did you send those other forms back down or no?
Paul's reviewing them.
Do you want me to give you a copy of this?
I probably have it, but yeah, if you could, sure. Thank you.
I'm just going to go out and get a quick copy. I'll be right back. Other than that, I'll be right back. If you've got any other questions for him?
It's been a little bit of a delay because, for certain reasons, but health-wise, but everything else will get going pretty quick now, weather permitting.
Yeah.
Keeps up, you can start early.
I know. You never know. New England, you never know.
Crazy. Well, I'm not sure if this is the second or the third. There's two. Yeah. Right. I'm not sure. Yeah. There's one more. Yeah, Pellegrini Estate, Pellegrini's. Quigley Road. I think it was the very first subdivision of these regulations, yes.
I remember coming out here years ago, one of my brothers drove the condominiums out on Route 202, it was years ago on, I just,
No, it must be Westfield. 202 is in Westfield.
no, these were condominiums in Southampton.
Well, 202 doesn't run through Southampton.
Well, 10.
Well, 10, it splits off.
Okay,
at,
yeah, right, but they were,
down there.
yeah, it was in Southampton, whatever, I'm not sure what,
Oh, how long ago?
in the 70s.
Okay, Greenbrier Country Gardens.
I'm
one
not
of
sure
those.
what it was, it was kind of dark tonight, so
Yeah.
yeah, do you have any input into amounts, you're talking about the homeowners association, do you have any input into the amounts that you want, for a bank account, in the bank account or anything? Any
we never-
preference, or?
We never,
I don't recall that.
Okay, all right,
it's just nice that it's set up and there's some,
yeah.
Now, did I read it right? I think I just skimmed through it really quick. I just saw it for the first time. Is it like an initial fee of $400 per lot?
Well, that's what I'm
200
trying to
on
work
annual?
with. I've seen other towns go, big amounts, so, I just want to know where you stand on that. If I can lower it, it makes it easy, but I want to make sure the costs are taken care of too,
Yeah, that's really up to the homeowners to establish that. I
Okay,
guess.
all right, I just want to know where the leeway was on that.
Well, whatever you set could always be changed with the homeowners at a later date.
Yeah, right,
as
right,
well.
right.
So,
Okay.
Up or down.
Yeah, it can be
depending on what
adjusted.
the costs, average, I guess they'll work that
Okay.
out.
Anything else?
I think we're all set. I will inform the building inspector, and if I do need anything else, I'll be in contact with you.
Okay, what do you want us to do with the, I could talk with Attorney Lockman again from Copeland and Page. I want to keep your costs down too, but the covenant with the performance contract for the subdivision completion, that's something that we'd like to get signed and recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Town council review it, send it to us? Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking
I think
about?
I'm on the same page with her. I just want to give her the final thing that we've...
I don't recall, them reviewing that type of a thing before.
We've had a local attorney review them in the past, too.
Oh, John?
One in Easthampton, John Jakovic, has in the past, local. It's up to you.
You could run it by them to get the final.
Yeah, they've started it already, so I think,
Yeah.
Copeland and Page? Okay,
yeah.
all right.
No, it's a different one.
Go through.
Well, no, you've
No,
already
they've
started
already
Oh, wait,
started.
okay.
with
Yeah.
compliment page, so I think I would just continue
Just
with.
run,
Try to keep it at a minimum,
just go through
Ed Gibson.
Attorney
Town
Lockman.
Administrator Ed Gibson on
Yeah.
that, to
Okay.
give him a heads up that you'll be in contact with them
Good,
regarding
okay,
that,
That's fine.
right?
Very good. Thank you. Anything
And-
else?
Anything else from you, Mike, then?
No, I don't have anything.
And if-
I have to meet with the highway department and go over it with Randy.
That's the key meeting, I see.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
Good luck. Didn't the
Thanks,
price
Jim.
just go up?
now we have kind of an inquiry from Lawrence Cohen, who's here this evening, who has a question about the property at 247 College Highway, which is in the residential neighborhood zone. He's looking for a zoning determination. Mr.
I'm hoping to be able to avail myself of some expertise. I have had some conversations with the assessor's office and others related to the town. I've yet to get a clear answer. So prior to filing a mass FOIA or submitting an application for a special permit for zoning, which may not be necessary, the suggestion was to speak with this board. So particularly 247 College Highway. At that address, currently there's a Sunoco and Stop and Save convenience store. Next to the Stop and Save, within the same building, there's an empty commercial spot. There used to be a bike shop there, I understand. I understand it's been empty for some time. So I've had some conversations with the owners of the property. In fact, I've got an intent to lease, intent for a commercial lease. I'm hoping to be able to open a retail-oriented business. To be clear, specifically, this would be a cannabis dispensary. So I would submit a request for a community host agreement to the town. I'm prepared to do that really very immediately. But prior to that, I need some clarity on the zoning. I understand under the town ordinances, it's written that a cannabis-oriented business should be in, I believe, a commercial business zoned. But again, this particular location, apparently there is some kind of special permit in place because this particular location, as I understand, is zoned residential. Yet there's a business there. There's been a business, again, the Sunoco and the Stop and Save for many years. So obviously, there's some kind of special permit in place right now, and I don't want to submit an application for a special permit if there is one in existence already. So I'm really hoping to get some clarity so I can move forward. If I need to submit a special permit for zoning, I'm happy to do so. Just want to make sure I can get the ducks in order and move forward on a request in regards to a community host agreement. And I won't talk about that too much now, but of course there is potential for substantial tax revenue for the town, and that's something we can talk about further. But right now I'm addressing the zoning issue.
Sure.
Well, number one, Jim, that's why I like your presence on this board, because you've been here forever, but do you recall when was that been a business and was grandfathered in that district
Correct.
some time ago?
As far as I can remember, the zoning was established somewhere in the 70s, and I believe that was an existing use, so it's grandfathered. So there's no special permit that would have been issued as far as I know.
Okay.
So it's a grandfathered situation, but whether this can go there or not, that I don't know.
Well, our new bylaw, I'm looking at the table of use and the use regulations, and it is not allowed in the RN neighborhood. And you would probably have to get a variance on that, maybe from ZBA, but it's not by these bylaws allowed there.
Would you agree that a special zoning permit is the way to move forward? As I understand, there's a couple types of variances. One is, well, particularly called a variance. I'm looking at some bylaws here, or some information too from the town. One is called a variance, and others called a special permit. Any thoughts there?
Well, that's what you'd be applying for under these current regulations,
Sure.
which it is not allowed, so the special permit wouldn't pertain, I believe, for that type of
Are
an
these the
application.
drafted new bylaws, or are these the accepted new
These are
bylaws?
the accepted ones.
They've already been accepted.
But my question too is, given the size of that parcel, or that, you're only talking about potentially leasing the old bike shop.
Correct. It's about 1,600 square feet. The size of the shop, I think, is adequate.
Which doesn't bother me, but
Right.
the parking does.
Right. So that's...
If this were
Right.
to come to
We
fruition.
could talk about that further, but as I've discussed with Raj, the current manager on the property, I understand there's some parking behind the building. We could potentially do some improvements and perhaps even construct another entryway around the other side so the traffic perhaps just flows in one direction around the building. I mean, those are some thoughts.
Yeah. Well, as it currently stands, I don't know how we can proceed with the use not being allowed there by the new regs, even though it is a grandfathered commercial business there now.
And my question is, once something is grandfathered, does that grandfathering status continue forever? It doesn't matter what the business is? Granted, we have to have the special permit on certain
Well,
things.
it doesn't go forever. It goes, if any business was to cease operations for 2 years, then it reverts back to the zoning that was done in the 70s when they rezoned the town. So as long as the business continues on, I can say that part of it. But whether this is allowed in there, I can't answer that
Well,
question.
has it been vacant for 2 years?
No,
it's still in use.
It's still in use.
Oh, I'm talking about that part with the bike shop. Hasn't it been empty too?
Well, the parcel has been used. It doesn't,
Oh, it doesn't matter that the,
yeah, there has been a business on that parcel.
okay.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that it's, the area around it's zoned residential, but the purpose of a variance or special permit is to allow a particular area, a particular lot or parcel that is zoned otherwise to be used for different use. Am I correct? Isn't that the purpose of a variance or a special permit? So am I correct that the best way to move forward perhaps would be an application for a special permit? And if that could be acquired, then perhaps we can move forward?
If the use is not allowed,
Yeah.
it's moot.
Right. They will not-
You can't apply for a special permit on a use that's not allowed.
Correct. So the only thing I don't know is the property being used as commercial, is he allowed to go into that? Like when the bike shop went there, that was a commercial
That-
sales.
That
So-
might be a legal question.
So it's a legal question I can't answer. I don't think you can get a special permit or a variance. I think your best option we need legal opinion on this.
Yeah.
Since there has been a commercial use on that parcel forever, as far as I can remember, are you allowed to go onto that, or do you have to do something special?
How
I
can
don't
we
think a
move-
special permit is gonna work, though.
How can we move forward and get a legal opinion so I can get some clarity?
How do we move
How do we do
forward?
that?
Well, I'd have to, contact Copeland and Page, obviously, to give us a,
Could we start with Pioneer Valley Planning?
I could.
That might be a first brush, and if they can't give us a decisive answer, maybe then we go legal after that. I'm just throwing that out there.
That would be great.
I think it's worth pursuing
Yeah,
personally.
I agree.
Yeah. Yep.
Good,
We
good,
need clarity on that, yeah.
good. Paul Deman has some of my contact information, my email, my phone number. I did send him an email, I believe, yesterday.
I do have it, yeah.
But I do agree as well, just to save you the time, is where this is a residential zone,
Yeah.
a variance wouldn't be granted for this use,
Okay.
nor would a special permit. So your only chance is, because there's an existing commercial use,
Okay.
could your business fall under that veil of commercial?
Great. Well, this is the
So
feedback.
that's the research we need to do.
How did you
I
describe the
appreciate it.
business, by the way?
It would be a cannabis dispensary, basically a retail business for adult use cannabis.
Adult use, yeah, okay.
It's possible that we could, down the road, add medical use as well, but we
Sure.
would start with the adult use.
Yep.
Like a recreational, I guess.
Well, correct.
All right, Mr. Cohen, I'll contact our consultants in Springfield, and then if they can't give us anything concrete and you want to pursue it further, then we'll have to go legal route.
Very good. Very much appreciate your
Right.
time.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck, thank you.
Next up, discussion items. We have some people here from the Master Plan Implementation Committee, and the discussion tonight stems around our yearly application that we could submit to PVPC for DLTA funds. I put some information in your packets. And in a discussion that Paul Fergal and I attended last Thursday with some of the members of the board.
Can I give
Yes, go ahead.
I'll give a little background
Oh,
to
go
this.
ahead.
Yeah, I've been representing the planning board on the Master Plan Implementation Committee for the time, since it first met, which was in, I think, October of 2018, and this was appointed by the Select Board. It's been a process. It's been interesting. We've read through the master plan more than once. The chairperson of the Master Plan Implementation Committee, who is Mike Rosenberg, has been before the Select Board with reports a couple of different times. And priority goals and strategies have been identified. At the last Master Plan Implementation Committee meeting prior to the joint one, the decision was to get it into small bites. And we started to look only at chapters 1 and 2, which is housing and economic development. Excuse my voice. I know I sound very different, but I have a bad cold. So the next step after that was to, because the planning board is listed in so many ways, kind of number one in many, many of the goals and strategies, we asked for a joint meeting, and thank you very much to Paul Fergal and to Paul Dieman for attending with a quorum of the Master Plan Implementation Committee meeting last week. We began discussion about what to do next, and it came up, exactly as Paul just said here, that we might consider applying for professional support utilizing the DLTA technical assistant monies that's available in, I believe, administered through Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. So that's where we are. So we're at the discussion place right now. Paul Dieman suggested we come back tonight and talk about it, and I guess that's where we are right now.
Well, the reason I think it's a good way to spend this money, provided they, you know, you send the application and cover letters and everything else, and then they decide. Because we had no plans for it per se. We were going to discuss it tonight anyway, but since we met with Master Plan, it's up to the board to say, would you rather go that route, and we sign off on it so they can find ways to help promote affordable housing in the community. The other thing that I got alerted about this weekend from Bob Kozig on the historical committee is that PVPC had a representative contact him, and they were trying to, I call it encouraging or lobbying for monies for a study of the canal that's they want to put on the National Historical Register. And according to Bob, PVPC said the canal has been, it's all done in Connecticut, all the work. Now they're trying to piece together communities in Massachusetts here so they can then complete this study and then get it on the canal on the National Historic Register. So this lady was lobbying Bob, saying, geez, Northampton's on board with it this year, and it was either Westfield or Southwick, I don't know, but if all the communities get together on it, then they can finish this study. And I said, well, I would, you know, it's probably a good thing to be done eventually, but what's the priority?
There is a very short window for the application. In fact, the application for the 2020's application was supposed to be due 2 days from now. They've extended the deadline to the 24th of January.
A week from Friday.
And I don't know where the Historic Commission is on that particular process. My understanding was that's a good idea, but they weren't going to try to do it for 2020. I don't have it officially from anybody. It's too bad because a town can only apply for one.
Bob didn't have a problem with it. He wasn't pushing for it. He alerted me to it. And he didn't know how to act, but he said, you know, if we've got greater needs that need to be serviced, and affordable housing certainly is at the top of a lot of people's list in town here, that's the route to go. So I'll open it up for anybody that would like to speak to it, against it.
Thanks. Chris Fowles, currently the Vice Chair of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. Thanks for having a second meeting with us. We don't have a full group tonight, but we have a few members that are here. We wanted to really just continue the meeting that we started last week. And this is sort of the first time that we've been able to have a joint meeting. And actually, it's a little bit of ahead of the schedule in a way, because when Mike Rosenberg presented the results of the master plan work to the select board, the intent is to have a bigger joint meeting with planning, select board, and master plan. So to the extent that we have had a joint meeting and now this discussion tonight, we just wanted to try and maybe get a little bit ahead of the game and at least have maybe planning and master plan be on some same wavelength and get kind of our ducks in a row before they had to go before yet another meeting and talk about it maybe more in depth with select board. But also because of the time frame that Cindy mentioned, with things that are just a very short window to even put in an application. And I know there are other DLTA grants that are ongoing in town, and I don't think that the fact that there are some...
They ended, I think, at the end of 2019.
Did they? Well, I'm not sure of that. I mean, there may be something else ongoing. I think there was something with stormwater and a couple of other things that might be ongoing that, you know, I don't think that jeopardizes us for applying again, from what I'm understanding, right?
No, it doesn't jeopardize it, but I think they only allow each town so much for DLTA assistance. So if you get 4 different applications, depending on how nice a cover letter you write and how much of a plea you give them and how important it is, they select the ones that they want to.
Yeah. And I'm not aware of any other one being submitted. I don't know. I talked to Ed briefly, but I'm not sure if he's working on any other one to submit that I'm aware of. So, but we were, you know, the 2 main chapters that seem to be the lead on anything that we looked at in master plan is this issue of affordable housing and how that's defined, and then tying it in with economic development as well. And as usual, the discussion keeps around going around the issue of how we can attract businesses to town. What kind of businesses do we want to attract? How do we deal with the infrastructure or lack thereof? And knowing that we've only got commercial zoning in 2 parts, really 2 ends of town, you know, how do we determine what areas might be priority for perhaps some sort of affordable housing, mixed-use development, perhaps, or whatever we might think of doing. So we wanted to really just sort of see whether this was something that we had enough information on to try and put together a proposal, or if we're really not ready to do that. But just knowing that the time frame is really, really short. And I think, as I read the letter that was sent out, the PVPC seemed to want to also meet with anybody putting in a proposal ahead of time to get a sense of what the concept was, I guess. And I don't know if that's been part of your normal process in doing that or not.
I wouldn't think there's time to do it now.
Well, actually, Chris and I chatted about the maybe part, about trying to get an appointment this week. I'm wondering, Paul, because you've done this before, is the meeting such that it might make us more attractive to the potential for actually being awarded the DLTA?
We haven't done it in so long, I couldn't tell you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In fact, the last DLTA monies I think we took advantage of was the
We had one.
mixed-use development there, remember?
The overlay district?
The overlay district, yeah.
Okay, well, actually, the town had a DLTA last year for the upgrading or the renewal of the open space and recreation
Yeah.
plan.
But I mean,
It
the
didn't come out of
last
the planning
time
board.
we had something done was that for that 40A, yeah.
Right. And it's my understanding that an application can be put in either by planning board or select board. So that's why we chose to sort of chat with you guys first to see what we could think about as to whether we're ready to act on anything that would make a sensible proposal, to have basically a planner type person to come in and sort of consolidate some of the ideas and brainstorming that people have done and some of the challenges that we know that we face, and figure out whether they might be able to help us come up with some sort of action plan so that we could start actually actualizing some piece of the master plan. I mean, there's a lot to tackle there, and obviously it's been around for a long time, and we're trying to figure out ways to actually take a real concrete step forward, and thought maybe we needed some professional help to help all of our volunteer thinking and time to sort of put something together. So that was part of our discussion. So thanks.
Any other comments from the board? I don't have a problem with the master plan committee taking advantage of this, because right now we've got enough on our plate with the zoning revision, so we don't have anything immediate.
What is the amount we're talking? I'm just curious.
I don't know. Larry said it could be what, like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of time?
It wasn't clear in the information.
No, not a price, no.
Question? Can you go?
Were you suggesting that the master plan implementation committee submit the application?
Maybe the
But I-
select
Oh, the
board.
select board, the planning board.
Because I think the select board or the planning committee are the only ones allowed to submit.
Yeah, it can't be the master plan implementation.
Well, yeah, but, okay. But I
Okay,
mean,
I just
if
wanted to
you-
be clear about that.
If you write the letters and fill out the application, we'll sign it if that's what the board wants to do.
Okay,
Can either go this way or the select board, either direction.
yeah.
So
I
So,
mean, we'll bring it forward to, I think, obviously, bring it
well,
forward to
the select board is
as well.
meeting the 21st,
We're meeting Tuesday.
Tuesday. So I guess we have a couple select board members here. What do you think should be the right
we
way
almost
to
have
do
a
it?
quorum here.
I don't know that we
missing
can
only
offer an opinion on that right now without everyone here.
Well,
But I thought last week we had agreed that the planning committee would take the lead on the application, if I remember correctly.
Well,
I'm just
I
trying
think you're
to-
suggesting we do the work, but the planning
Yeah,
board be the one.
You know, I would rather not have to fill this out and draft it, because you people know which way you want to go with it, but I'll sign what you want to
Okay.
put in.
All right.
Would it help if it was supported by both boards
Mhm.
to get,
Yep.
kick it up on
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying, let's have Ed do it.
No, Ed's pretty busy. I mean, with budgeting and everything, I don't know.
Or maybe the more we get behind it, the more it'll be looked at as a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
You know, and after our meeting last week, I don't know if you guys, Paul and Paul that were there, had any further thoughts about, you know, how to clearly articulate what it is we're looking for. I mean, I'm not sure how lengthy the application has to be. It sounds like it's only a page, but you've obviously got to put forth some sort of intended scope and what you hope to get as deliverables out of it, I would assume. So,
Did the one I sent you, Cindy, that email with all the
Yeah.
applications, have any sample letters to submit?
I don't see any sample
Okay,
letters.
because-
Actually, Chris and I looked a little bit at this yesterday. Lots of information about what the criteria would be, how to approach the
Okay, so
decision-making,
the one
and
with...
what projects have been awarded in the past.
Right, so the one with the historical register that Bob Kozub sent me, the lady did include a couple of sample letterheads that you fill in the blanks. So I will forward that
Okay.
to you to get an idea of how to write what they're looking for.
yeah, okay, that would help.
perfect.
So,
That'll make it easy.
based on what we're talking about right now, then, as a member of the planning board, do we need a motion? Can I make a motion to say planning board would support the project of applying for a DLTA funding in order to achieve the review of housing and economic development in our town as stated in the 2013 master plan, specifically affordable and market rate housing, mixed-use development, which would be concurrent with economic development. I already did a draft of what I wanted to say anyway. And then have that signed by the chairperson of the planning board and go to the select board so they're aware of it at their next meeting.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, kind of long.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made by Cindy and seconded by Keith. Any other discussion by the board?
Well, the only question I have, the mixed use we talked about, that was sounds similar to the overlay district we were talking about. It seems like it's renamed or something. We did a lot of work on that, and we hit a roadblock with sewer. We needed sewer, and so I don't know if we're going to hit the same roadblock or if we have ways around that this time.
Well, that's what we're looking for from the professional planner. The roadblock is there. There's no sewer, but are there other ways to look at it? I think Paul Fergal was going to talk to somebody about Easthampton.
Right, so I did speak with, or emailed with Dan Murphy, the city engineer, about, like, for example, sewer. The DPW believes that the current line that's on Route 10 is relatively full, so it's near capacity. However, there is potential to go on the bike path off of Wilmelco, is that the?
Wilmelco Way?
Wilmelco Way, correct. So where the dance studio is.
Oh, okay.
So the idea is to go down that street. There's an interceptor that's right next to the bike path that could be ultimately connected. It's not clear if it goes all the way down to Coleman, but they mentioned that segment, particularly that has capacity.
So to me, the professional planner would include that in their assessment process and come up with, is this a viable approach? And what do you do?
Well, they wouldn't really tell you if it's a viable approach per se. I think it's a bigger exercise that needs to be implemented in terms of helping, what I envision is this assistance would help us put together some of the pieces that are all over the place with these goals and how some of them might conflict and how some of them are challenged by certain obstacles. But there is still a significant amount of work that would have to be done beyond this. If we're getting, let's say, $5,000 from this technical assistance, that's not really going to get us anywhere. If I would to come up with something, they would probably just regurgitate mostly everything that we put together already in our report and kind of summarize it for that much money.
Should we ask for more?
Well, we need more. The thing is, it's a much bigger effort than what this particular mechanism allows. The best thing I could say is I think we should probably ask somebody at PVPC just to look at it from a big picture and get a number that we would.
Yep. So
what that task would entail.
All right.
Because I don't think I'm articulating it that well right now.
I would like to tomorrow make a phone call to PVPC to see if we can get an appointment with somebody there, this fellow Eric Weissman or somebody, to talk about what would be the reasonable dollar sign that we need on that.
Right.
That sounds like a good idea.
It's still going to be, it's our next step, right? It's not going to be the ultimate answer, right?
It's a first step.
It's a first step.
Yeah.
Here's a email I just received within the last half hour from Larry, who's sunning himself in Mexico for the winter. And regarding the DLTA that I asked his opinion on, he said, the only thing that I think might be possibility for you to use the funds would be for them to do a housing production plan. This is a plan for what steps the town needs to take to increase their affordable stock up to 10%. The problem with this is that once you do it, you are committed to take steps recommended, zoning revisions, etc., to try and reach your goals. This is something that affordable housing advocates would certainly appreciate, but I'm not sure that everyone would be happy with the results, like loosening up zoning regulations to promote more affordable by-right housing. So that's his recommendation on what you could do, but you have to live with the results.
I think what Larry said is spot on. It's not that so much we live with it. I think we don't want to do it in haste. We don't want to be tripping over ourselves to come up with something that is half-baked, which, you know, leads me back to what I previously was saying with respect to getting just, it doesn't cost anything for us, I don't think, to just sit down with someone from PVPC to give us a proposal on what they propose for the tasks that they would entail to help us to put all these pieces together and get us moving.
Just, you mentioned the other day, I think, Paul, that we'd had some experience with the inclusionary housing bylaw, and that was more than challenging to even try to work with. Would it be a logical thing to have somebody help us revise that bylaw? Is that a possible task, or is that something you guys are already doing?
Well, we mentioned that to Larry several times, and he didn't want to touch it. No.
So this falls back, I think, also back to, we need a collective review of various town components and bylaws and goals and how that all fits in, and, you know.
I mean, I think I mentioned before at our meeting last Thursday, perfect guy to speak about to this subject is Ryan Gielaher, who is the developer, and the reasons why it is not profitable for people to do this in subdivisions. That's why they're coming in at 9 all the time. It's just, you'll get his take on it, and he can give you the dollars and cents and the behind it. And I thought the approach that we discussed doing units, you know, like affordable apartment units in a building on a parcel made a lot of sense, provided, you know, you can pull it off with infrastructure. But, Keith, do you have any comments?
No, it's an infrastructure issue, for sure.
Just a question.
Lack of sewer.
You mentioned the overlay district. Which overlay district are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Well, it was smart growth program that came up. Yeah. Which went from the Easthampton line to Midtown, where Paisanos is, right?
Right, we tried that, and then
It stopped because of the infrastructure.
Right. So we're in the middle of a motion.
We have a motion on the floor to have these DLTA work go for the benefit of a proposal from master plan.
From planning board.
From us, yes, and we'll endorse it.
Yep, I seconded Cindy's
Yeah.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just sent Cindy over the form letters from PVPC that you'll have something to go by.
Okay, great. We'll look at that. We'll attempt to get an appointment at PVPC, got a short window, and we'll do our best, and
Depending on what they say, I mean, maybe the timing isn't right. I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, so we'll find out.
okay.
Well, you only get one crack at those funds once a year, so
Yeah.
it might be nice to use it at some point.
Jim, do you have something?
I'm glad Francine's here and John. So next on the agenda, now that this is over, the PVPC DLTA, general bylaws. I received, it's in your packet, and I also included 2 more that Lucy sent me today. Now, these I assume are going to the town meeting, is that it?
Yes, not necessarily this special town meeting coming up in February.
Oh, okay. So we have some time to...
That's what you can do.
All right. But you'll see them, there's an Article 22, numbering of buildings, and then the ones that Lucy sent me today, Article 45, is it, elected and appointed committees, and then another one about membership participation on boards and committees. So these are general bylaws that they're going to be brought forward at town meeting. Could you just give me a brief summary of the one on the number of buildings, numbering of buildings? Because I was telling Francine when she sent this to me that we assign numbers as we get A&Rs that come our way. So that's what we're doing right now. But there was some question about occupancy or building inspector.
Mhm. Well, yeah, we're trying to, one of our challenges is trying to find the right committee to present, to make the revisions to existing bylaws. So this is an existing bylaw, which we understand comes under the jurisdiction of the planning board. And so what the bylaws committee is attempting to do is look at the town's general bylaws, update them in terms of language and information, clarity, so that people, when they read it, can understand exactly what's expected in this. And so the proposed change would be and how we number buildings in the town, how the numbers are displayed, the size of the numbers on each building are specified here as 6 inches or larger, how visible those home and addresses, not just homes, but addresses are from the road, and just a general guideline so that everybody can find any location in the town.
So one of the main changes here, you're taking it from the select board, putting it onto the planning board.
I think there is a system, a comprehensive system in place already. It's just moving the responsibility from the select board to the planning board.
And
then putting in the criteria for display and mounting and visibility. There are two paragraphs.
Yeah. My initial thought is the size of the numbering, 6 inches.
It's currently 6.
It's currently 6.
My residents wouldn't comply with that. I probably have 3-inch numbering on my mailbox, and I bet a lot of
$20.
You can come get that $20 out of me.
Why 6
But
inches?
why? I mean, my guess would be 6 inches was what was written in the old bylaw.
Right.
I would suspect majority of residences and buildings in town wouldn't comply with 6 inches. So I think I would suggest that's something, if there's a standard numbering system that the U.S. Postal Service recommends in terms of sizes on mailboxes, I don't know, but I know I don't have 6-inch numbers on my residence.
Yeah, it isn't just mailboxes.
It's fire, police.
Fire, police, and
right.
We don't have a hurry
the emergency.
For a house for medical.
Right.
Does this not, we have these little things in the front of our house, the little poles that have numbers.
They're
Isn't
not
that
6 inches.
I know they're not 6 inches, but I thought they were placed there for fire and police.
They are in designated areas so that when emergency responders go, they look in a very specific place because there's instructions of where it needs to be placed on your property, to the right or to, I don't know, the right or left of your driveway by so many feet. And so the visibility from either direction, those emergency vehicles can identify your house.
So why do we have to have 6 inches on our mailbox?
Everyone is required to have that. That's a voluntary thing.
Oh.
So
Maybe we should have that mandatory.
People can request that, but we're just talking about normal addresses that appear on buildings and on homes. How are they displayed? I mean, we have, part of what we're doing here in making these changes is you have the opportunity to make a change. If you think 6 inches is too high, or as you suggested, maybe the Postal Service, or maybe talking
Fire
to the fire and the
department,
police and asking them how large is large enough for
Yeah.
homes that don't have these other identifying addresses.
Right.
Would be sufficient, and use that as the criteria.
And also, who is going to enforce this, and what is going to be the penalty if
Select board.
the lock house doesn't have the 6 inches?
Keith will.
It says, yeah.
You're the enforcement officer,
Yeah.
right, Cindy? Yeah, you can come to my house.
Not for this purpose, others.
It says here, failing to do so after 30 days from the building department shall result in a fine set by the select board or town meeting.
And somebody's got, sadly, got to
Somebody
go
has to,
out and
yeah.
say it's
Well.
only 5.3 inches, yeah.
Well,
One of the concerns I have is
Silly.
it doesn't set a maximum size.
Yeah,
And
You're right. You could have a 2-foot one if you want, yeah, I hear you.
And I would be livid if my neighbor did that, just
Okay.
to tick me off.
Okay.
But,
Well, I don't think,
so let me just explain what I'm thinking here in terms of size. There are national and federal standards, right, in terms of what sign size needs to be for letters and distance that you can see. Typically, not to get into the minutia of it, but 6 inches is kind of the minimum that we're seeing, for like street name signs. So if you were putting up
Yeah, I see them getting larger,
right.
yes.
So usually it's 6 inches is the minimum, so you can see it from a distance of 180 or whatever, 200 feet away. I think for us to say anything larger than that might be a disservice,
Might be a disservice.
potential disservice.
Yes.
So that's my only suggestion with that regulation there.
yeah, the further the house is off the road, the bigger you're gonna want the number. So if the
Well,
house
no,
is
but if you have it on
30
the
feet
street,
off the road, a 4-inch number would probably be great. And if the house is 250 off, then you're gonna want,
no, but it's at the
But if
driveway.
If it's at the driveway,
yeah, at
then
what
it's-
point do you
it's
put it at
along
the
road.
driveway? Just when it's hard to see the house, but there's no,
Well, it says left of the driveway.
okay.
Could I ask
Place
why
front
this
door of the
wouldn't fall
building
under the purview of the
It's
building
not
inspector?
visible, but if it's visible,
Who is a paid
look at
employee
your
of the
eyes, you know
town?
what I mean?
Well, my house wouldn't be visible during the summer.
My house is visible, but it's
We
300 feet off the
can
road.
go back, I mean,
So,
it seems as though whoever we talk to tells us it belongs to someone else. Okay,
Well,
so we're
reason-
not the content people here,
I
we're
know,
just the
yeah.
processors.
Right.
I think it belongs to Randall. What do you guys think?
No, he's saying
So
building.
we don't have a problem,
Because he's-
taking what you said, going to the building department, seeing if there's agreement, going to the police and the fire department and making sure that they're all okay with that. We'll facilitate
Yeah.
that kind of
This is really,
collaboration.
it's really an enforcement issue,
Yes.
right? And our
But then
agent
who?
for enforcement is the building
Right.
inspector.
yep.
And right now, it looks as though the enforcement lies within the building department, according to what. the
Building
way this is
inspector,
written.
But he also signs off on certificate of occupancy and
yes.
building permits,
Yes.
which are right in his line of work to begin with. And this is only one other step to go to make sure before he issues the CO that the numbers are on there. Otherwise, they don't get it.
Why isn't,
They don't get the certificate of occupancy
They don't.
unless the numbers are
well, we
affixed.
can ask if they withhold that for that reason. I
And
don't know.
and are there people that are grandfathered in because they lived in that house for 50 years and they didn't have the right size numbers? And the other thing is,
I don't know how long the requirement has been for 6 inches or larger, as Paul said.
and there's other issues too. The number could be very clear, bold, black on a white background. It could also be gold on a dark blue background. It could be, kind of script that's not easy to read. I'll tell you, in my professional career, I had to find houses in the middle of the night, and I sometimes had to get the police department to help me find the house because of, visiting somebody in the middle of the night. But I think rather than this, and maybe this came up in your discussion, can't we make it a requirement that you have these little poles? That's going to help fire and police better than do you have number 69 on your house?
Well,
I don't know if that came up at all.
That did not come up, and I think that's been an option for people who want to have that type of identification.
Yeah.
Otherwise, having your address visible from the street at a certain distance. So we certainly can go to the building department. This is not something that we're going to move ahead with
I don't think the planning board should.
Yeah,
at this next meeting, and then come back and just say to you or get the information to you somewhere, what their recommendation would be, along with the police and the fire.
Yeah, police and fire having, saying.
Okay, because, we ask one question, and that,
Mushrooms.
it mushrooms into, and it's with every, but we all need to be in agreement, we all need to make sense, and we all need to be on, certainly on the same page. So, I think, so I'll take this back, and we'll get back to you on what we hear from others.
This is the only issue the bylaw committee has come up against, right?
No,
joking.
no, this is, anyway, it has, it's like Pandora's box. But the other two that were sent to you today, you have some time to look at, and we're, just so that you know that, it's been distributed to every committee, commission, and board, so that they can review kind of the guidelines for membership and participation on committees, and boards, and see if there's agreement again. And we're taking recommendations. This is just a proposal. That's why it's called proposed changes. It's not the change. We're looking for input. The sooner you get back to us. But again, there's some time on this. I think the date was something like March 1st on this, because this we would not, pending review by the attorneys and so on, in the process that we have to go through internally with this, it probably wouldn't be coming before town meeting until at least the spring meeting in May.
The board want to make a motion on that to take action, that we
You want to
do
add
not want to
anything?
be responsible for this proposed change?
I move that we tell the Bylaws Review Committee that the planning board would not be the ones to make the decisions on the numbers,
On buildings, right.
on buildings.
Right. I second that. Motion's made and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Okay, next, oh, by the way, before some of you folks leave from master plan, Ed wants to know if a date for a joint meeting with the select board and the master plan committee. He's looking on a night that's not on either one of our meeting nights, but on a Tuesday, February 25th is what is the tentative date that they'd like to set for as many that could make it.
So this is Select Board, Planning Board,
Master
and
plan.
Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Yeah.
I don't think I think where the select board is scheduled is February 18th, so that 25th should be open.
Right.
25th would be a Tuesday.
We can check.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is a Tuesday, yeah.
I think it is on the calendar because it just came into my email, so
So if,
the 18th was a Select Board meeting.
mark your calendars for that, just if you're available, fine, we'll see as many of us that can show up. So right now, February 25th.
Probably at 7.
Is that what time you usually meet?
No, the Master Plan Implementation Committee's been meeting at 7.
Select Board at 6.
Oh, Select Board at
So
6.
who's going to be sending out the notification, select board, or
Or Ed.
each board has to send it out? I think just whoever's
Chair will have to post
whoever's
it.
chairing it, is the select board going to be chairing it?
Yeah.
All right, so then you'll be sending the notice out.
And I believe each board committee has to post it as a joint meeting with the other boards and committees.
Okay.
That's good.
All right, thank you. Where else are we here? Also in your packet, there's just information Lucy, the clerk, sent. Most of us are up for ethics training certification, so read that packet and get your certification done and the certificate turned into her at your earliest convenience. In the back of that memorandum, it gave us the dates that we last did them.
Which one was you looking
What
at?
else?
This one.
Is there anything else, anybody in the audience, before we're just about wrapping up here? Anything else? Charlie, do you have anything?
Just as part of your discussion, John McDonald, 45 Rattle Hill Road.
Oh, John, come on up. Come on up. We want you on TV, front and center.
TV.
Anyway, I think I'm speaking correctly here, but the Conservation Commission applied for a DLTA grant 3 or 4 years ago, and it was for the purpose of getting a part-time conservation agent in Southampton and Easthampton, and they carried that ball. We ended up with a document that was quite substantial, and if I remember correctly, we didn't have to go to the select board or anything to get monies, because they were going to pay for it, and about $18,000 a year, at least for the first year. But unfortunately, they didn't have the money eventually, and it was terminated. But we had that experience, and they do a very nice job.
They being
PVPC. They carry
help
that.
carry it? Okay, good.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
That's very nice.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Charlie.
Under policies and procedures on fees, we did not, after we wrapped up the marijuana bylaw, we did not follow up and set any kind of application fees for a retail operation or a medical or a growing facility. So we have nothing on the books right now. If someone, and there's a host agreement already signed, and they will be coming before us in the next 45 to 60 days for one in Red Rock Plaza. So does anyone have any feeling on?
Is this a fee for the planning board to consider their application?
No, it's just it's an application fee that comes with the, the permit.
And does it go into the planning board's budget?
Yeah. Right.
Well, can we get an idea of what other surrounding communities are doing, and then this way we'll be in line with them?
Oh, I just thought you were going to throw a number out and let it stick.
You have an idea? I mean, I have no clue.
I mean, what do we have for solar?
Well, solar is based on size.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What just order of magnitude? I mean,
I think it gets as high as 2,500.
Gets up to 2,500 for an application fee, and that obviously
Most,
doesn't include any outside consultant services, so.
Right, and those, if there's outside consultants, a lot of times they're picking up the tab for them anyway, but I mean, just for ourselves, for the planning board and some of the work we have to, paperwork we have to shuffle around, but the average special permit that we've got, is like $100 for a lot of it, except for solar. Subdivisions are different naturally, but when Paul mentioned solar, that's what I was kind of leaning to. I said, geez, we've got fees in place for different sizes of those. I don't feel bad about tacking on, not a heavy application fee, but for, marijuana businesses coming into the community, there's only going to be 3 maximum. So
I think I agree with Jim. We'd be good to do a little groundwork to find out if we set it as 50 and we found out Northampton is 250, we kind of would be, why didn't we get 250.
I think without even looking, I think our solar goes from, you got a ground mount for, again, $100 for residential, and then the fields go 500, 1,000, 1,500, I believe, depending on
Can we table
the
this?
watts,
Make some phone calls.
megawatts, or whatever it is. Is that the feeling? You want me to do some digging to see what somebody else charges before we do it?
I'm reaching out to Easthampton and see what they charge.
I was just trying to find it and I couldn't. You're going to call.
I think we should,
Yeah, I got
I think we should get a little background, just so that we're in the same ballpark with some of these other communities. Do we have to decide tonight? Do you know if that's coming forward next time?
Well,
You just have to make a decision before the application is
Yeah, it has-
submitted.
Do we know when it's coming?
they're waiting,
Oh,
for the...
they're waiting for the fee?
They're waiting for us to set a date
Oh,
to have them hold a public hearing.
I think we need to make a decision at our next meeting.
okay.
Yeah,
The
if
fee
we-
structure is something we can set at this board. It doesn't need any
Yeah, just-
further
no.
outside
Right, I
approval
think-
beyond this board.
If we do a little research, just for we're in line with everybody else, next meeting, we should be able to make that decision, I think.
So, I don't know if
All
we
right,
need a
so I'll
motion, but
table-
let's wait till the next
I'll
meeting to
table that
finalize
then.
it.
I'll come back with the next meeting.
Unless Paul gets.
Unless I get a text message in the next 5 minutes.
But you're only going to get one community. Or did you email everybody?
Oh.
Text everybody?
I just texted Easthampton.
Maybe we'll just go to the warrant here while he's waiting for the email response, and if so, maybe we can revert back to that. I've got a bill from Larry Smith for his consulting fees to this board from July 1st, 19 to 12/31/19 for all the time he put in for the different things he helped us with. Most importantly, it was the zoning bylaw revisions, and it was $2,400, 32 hours at $75 an hour. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve Larry Smith's.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Just send that down, please. Who else outside of Northampton and Easthampton's got, does Westfield have,
Doesn't
did they
Holyoke have
pass it? Did it?
It's not open yet, though. I
mean,
think,
there's no small towns around. Oh, did Whately? Yeah, Whately.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have
Holyoke?
Easthampton, Westfield, and maybe Holyoke. That's about it. But that'll be good enough. I mean, that'll
Yeah.
give us an idea where we gotta be. We'll undercut them all by a couple bucks. Oops, I've signed where your name is. Wasn't paying attention, sorry. Paul starts with a J.
Any
trying to
other
pee.
business comments from the board on anything?
I have none.
I have none.
You only sign the first.
Gotta sign in.
Motion to adjourn?
So move
Second.
Third.
5, 6, 7,
Motion's made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 8. Aye.